was coming home late at night, after a shift that seemed never-ending. The cold was biting, and the silence around felt almost unreal, like the whole world had stopped. I was walking slowly down the driveway, thinking only about a hot shower in my bed when I reached the front door. I pulled the keys from my pocket, and as soon as I tried to open the door, I noticed there wasn't a single light. The power was out. I turned on my phone to light the lock, but the battery was almost dead. I looked up toward the windows. I couldn't see any light. But the strangest thing was that, looking beyond the garden, I noticed that the neighbors' houses all still had their lights on, as if the blackout affected only my home. A cold shiver ran down my spine. With my heart starting to pound harder, I tried to push the door, but it was locked. I checked the back door, the garage door. Every exit was locked from the inside. A chill of terror froze me. Who was inside my house? And why had they done this? I slowly turned my gaze toward the bedroom window that faced the driveway. In the darkness, I glimpsed two flickering flashlight beams moving cautiously among the furniture and walls. Two silent figures rifling through my personal belongings, searching for something with an intensity I couldn't understand. Panic overwhelmed me. My wife was still inside, alone, unaware of what was happening. I tried to stay calm, but fear tightened my throat. Without thinking, I grabbed some stones from the driveway and threw them hard against the bedroom window glass. Each strike made the glass vibrate, hoping to catch her attention, to warn her to hide, to run. One of the intruders aimed his flashlight toward the window, briefly illuminating my face. I heard a low, threatening voice whisper something I couldn't make out. Terror took over. The man moved toward the bedroom. My heart felt like it would burst out of my chest. I imagined my wife hiding behind the bed, trembling silently, while the man searched for something valuable, or maybe something far worse. Later, she told me that one of the intruders had a gun and that he pointed it inside their room shortly after she hid. With trembling hands, I called the police. While I waited, the silence was deafening. When the sirens finally came closer, the fear turned to anguish. The intruders had already vanished, taking jewels, documents, valuables, but leaving us with a vulnerability that would never go away. Since then, every suspicious noise, every flicker of light, even the tapping of a branch on the window made me jump. That blackout wasn't an accident. It was planned to make our home an easy target, to turn our peace into a nightmare. I can't forget that night. I can't forget the fear in my wife's eyes, the weight of my guilt, the icy cold darkness that tasted of danger. Since then, nothing has ever been the same. I was working the night shift as a security guard at a large, isolated warehouse, a place I knew well, but that night felt like it was turning into a nightmare. The storm outside was fierce. The wind howled around the outer walls, violently shaking the doors, while rain hammered relentlessly against the windows with a deafening rhythm. It felt like the whole world was screaming into the night. That day, I started my shift with the usual routine, checking entrances, inspecting security systems, just a few people watching over a place almost always empty at night. But everything changed suddenly, without warning. The power went out. In an instant, everything shut down. The warehouse was swallowed by a darkness so complete, it felt almost tangible, almost physical. I turned on my flashlight, but its beam seemed insignificant against the deep blackness surrounding me, a small ray trying to push through the black fog. I started moving slowly among the shelves, my heart pounding as every tiny sound seemed amplified, as if everything was waiting for something. The silence was unsettling. broken only by the storm raging outside and my own heavy breathing. Each step echoed on the floor, and sometimes I thought I heard something moving in the shadows, but every time there was nothing. Then I saw something that froze my blood, a faint glow, a light similar to my flashlight's beam, but that appeared and vanished quickly, like a ghost. I followed that light with my eyes but could never catch it. It was there, just out of reach, a disturbing sign that something or someone was with me. As I made my way down the aisles, I started hearing strange noises, light footsteps, almost indistinct whispers, coming from the deepest parts of the warehouse. The air was heavy, filled with a damp, musty smell, as if that forgotten place was hiding something sinister. Following that smell and those sounds, I noticed wet footprints on the floor, fresh, leading toward the most remote and least frequented corridors. Fear grew inside me, but I knew I had to act. I needed to restore the power, bring back the light, and end this nightmare. With determined steps, I headed toward the electrical panel, located in a hidden corner of the warehouse. Every noise made me jump, my heart in my throat. When I was almost there, a chilling sound broke the silence. The slow, menacing scraping of a crowbar dragging across the floor. I spun around, and there, silhouetted in the darkness, were two figures dressed in black. One of them was holding that very crowbar, brandishing it like a weapon ready to strike. Terror froze me for a moment, but then my survival instinct kicked in. I started running, fleeing without looking back, desperately searching for an exit, a refuge. I could hear their footsteps behind me, heavy breathing, and the tangible threat of that crowbar that could hit me at any moment. My mind raced, thinking of all the things I could have done differently. But now the only thing that mattered was staying alive. I managed to reach a phone and call the police. When they arrived, the intruders had already vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the echo of that night and a sense of emptiness and fear that never left me. My boss scolded me for running away, saying I should have faced them, but I knew that in that moment the only important thing was to live to tell the tale. Since that night, nothing has been the same. Every time I walk those aisles, every time I hear a sudden noise, I relive that deep terror. I still do night shifts, but now with much stricter security measures. I've learned never to underestimate the dark, because it's never just the absence of light. It's the presence of something dark, something threatening, watching you, waiting, and preparing the right moment to strike. I never imagined that a simple power outage could turn into such a real nightmare, one that would deeply mark my life. It was an apparently normal evening, and I was home alone. My wife had left for a business trip, and I had planned to enjoy some quiet time, read a book, and go to bed early. The air outside was heavy with humidity, and all afternoon I had noticed the sky darkening slowly. Around 7:30, the wind began to pick up. The trees in the garden bent under its growing force, and occasionally I heard the crash of a branch breaking. The neighborhood lights flickered like a disturbing signal, while thunder rumbled closer and closer. I was settled on the couch with a blanket and a cup of hot tea, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease inside me. Then suddenly, everything went out. The lights, the TV, even the digital clock on the wall stopped, swallowed by thick, silent darkness. The blackout didn't even last a second before I grabbed my phone's flashlight, its weak, flickering beam like a match struggling in a storm. I walked through the house, heart pounding, trying to rationalize the situation. It must be a temporary outage, nothing to worry about. But but it wasn't. When I passed the living room window, I saw something that froze my blood. A dark figure moved slowly in the garden, just a few meters away. I couldn't make out any details, but I clearly felt that presence watching me, motionless like a predator lying in wait. Being frozen wasn't an option. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen, my hand shaking slightly, and cautiously approached the front door. Every step was slow and heavy, accompanied by the deafening sound of the storm battering the windows and roof. As I flung the door open, the figure spun around sharply and vanished into the darkness like a shadow fading away. But that moment was enough to make me understand I wasn't alone, that someone had chosen that night to enter my home. I rushed back inside, slamming the door and locking it. The silence that followed was thick with tension. Almost immediately, I heard a noise behind me. A light step, imperceptible, like the whisper of a shadow moving through the room. I spun around, but saw nothing. Terror hit me suddenly and deeply. I ran to the bedroom and locked the door, barricading it with whatever I could find. Only then did I manage to grab the phone and call the police, whose response was slow, almost distant. During that call, I kept hearing strange noises, footsteps in the halls, something scraping along the wall, a light, labored breathing that seemed to come from everywhere. My mind wavered between rationality and fear, trying to find a logical explanation for the nightmare. When they finally arrived, the police searched the house but found no trace of the intruder. Only some muddy footprints near the front door testified to their presence. But there was no way to identify who they were. I spent that night without sleeping, every fiber in my body tense, listening to every sound as if it were a sign of something terrible about to happen. Since then, every blackout makes me relive that sense of vulnerability and fear, that awareness that darkness hides more than the eye can see. Over time, I installed security systems, cameras, alarms, but nothing can erase the feeling that darkness isn't just the absence of light. It's a place where the unknown hides, where shadows move and watch you, waiting for the right moment to appear. And even now, when the lights go out, my heart races, my skin prickles, and I know I'm never truly alone.